like, not John Doyle brain rot. It's time for lefty brain rot, okay? Lefty, fashy brain rot. It's Crystal and Sagaar, everybody, debating NoFap. The content you've always wanted and dreamed of.
All right, Sagaar, what are you looking at?
Well, a crazy phenomenon that I've observed in the last few years is a concerted mainstream effort to target online male spaces for self-improvement. Much of it can be traced back to Gamergate and the fake moral panics about the so-called pickup movement, but in recent years, it's transformed into something else entirely. The latest iteration that you will all famously recall is the infamous MSNBC article about fitness is somehow fascist, but at a deeper level, the demonization has been in many forms for recent months and years. The targeting of any discussion about testosterone, about people doing their own research when it comes to medical procedures. My personal favorite latest, it recommends that people eat less protein because it goes against what the US government recommends on nutrition. The tilt to all of it is a fear of self-discovery, self-mastery, and self-improvement. Mostly
Okay, I will say that this has kickstarted like one of the dumbest bits of online like drama I've ever seen in my life. I will say that. I've largely not talked about it, but basically there's a colossal amount of drama right now in leftist spaces because someone like went viral for saying that in order to be like more anti-fascist, you should like cultivate yourself. You should like work on improving your skills and like working out, etc. And people are like going crazy about it on the left, saying that it's like ableist, that it's classist, that it's like actually evil to even ask this of people. And that's kind of crazy to me because I don't think improving yourself should be considered any of those things. Alleged Allegra, thank you very much for getting a tier 1 sub. I appreciate it. So basically what I want, yeah, it's a very much a what type situation where people keep going back and forth and it keeps escalating. Now anyone who says you should exercise is like the devil. To really hammer home my point here, do exercise, does self-improvement have like certain race and like class distinctions that make it easier or harder depending on, you know, your state of existence? Absolutely. Like, it's a lot easier for richer people to work out because they can afford things like gym memberships or workout equipment or just the time to go work out. It's easier to do that. And whether or not you have access to those spaces can also be like has a racial component. You know, the ease with which you can work out has like a component of ability, right? So there are factors at play that make it easier or harder to do. But even if it's hard, it's still good to improve yourself. I think that's the easiest way to like reframe this entire conversation. It's that it is good to improve. It is good to improve society. It is good to improve yourself. And I think that there are people who are like basically like extrapolating from some of the things that have been said that like if you aren't working out, you are not anti-fascist because fascists will work out, and when like a day of conflict comes, you will be found unprepared. But like I think the much better way of framing it is just improve yourself. And you can be intentional in the ways you improve yourself. You know, even if you are not a person of able body, there are ways you can improve yourself. There are ways you can build and hone skills. There are ways you can build your community up, you know? And that's a good thing. Doing it for yourself, I think, needs to be the primary motivator. But I think you can also improve with specific goals in mind. You know, those goals might be anti-fascist or community building or community defense or self-defense. Like, it can be for a bunch of different purposes, but primarily, I think at the baseline, improving yourself is good. We should be living lives where we go through our entire lives constantly trying to improve ourselves. And I think I don't think that is a classist or racist or ableist statement to make. I think that in this conversation, and the reason it's become drama is because people bring in extraneous factors to be like, oh, what if blah, and people are having like, subpar, not ideal answers to those hypotheticals or what ifs. So like, my point here is just like, at the very least, don't be against the concept of improving yourself. It's not even classist, it's just lazy. I'm lazy, but I used to have this roommate that would do a set of push-ups at every street corner on the way to the bus stop. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, there is a component of class to being able to work out effectively, right? Like, if you are able to have, like, a personal trainer, if you're able to afford, like, a meal plan, if you're able to afford, like, that can help you in your effort to work out. It can make it easier. But that's the class component. Making it easier is the class component. You can still do it even if you're poor, even if you got nothing. Even if you are disabled in a number of different ways, you can still do some kind of self-improvement. And that is going to be good. Yeah, even indirectly through like better healthcare access, either mental or physical, of course. Yeah. Proper nutrition is also expensive. These are all class components that make it more difficult to live a healthier lifestyle, but it doesn't necessarily mean that improving your lifestyle is bad. Yeah, honestly, best thing I ever did, okay? There's a yoga channel that I watch. I do my yoga from, okay, when I do it. Best thing I've ever done with my body. There's a YouTube channel called Yoga with Adrian. It's free. You can all you have to do, you don't even need a yoga mat. It's nice to have a yoga mat, but you don't need one. You just watch the video. And like you do the routine with no additional things. And there you go. It takes like 25 minutes. Stretching is good. It also builds like core muscle strength like across your body. It's great. That's the best thing. I mean, when I do yoga, it makes me feel a lot better about my body. I like the idea of yoga. I want to try it. My favorite video for doing yoga. Let me see here if I can find it. I call it baby yoga, okay? Hey everyone. It's a 20-minute yoga video. Y'all can do it. I have watched this so many times. I can't even begin to tell you. And it's just real easy, She's just there's the sitting portion, and then there's the on all fours portion, and then there's the standing up. Like it's good stuff. It's a simple routine. I like it, and you all can do it too. Maybe I'll start doing it on stream. Keep me a little bit accountable, huh? Because it also, like, working out really only works if you're, like, consistent with it. I'm gonna go eat breakfast and then try it? Hell yeah. Let's go. Yes, also, like, I like all of her yoga videos, but, like, this one's great. Also, goddamn, 52 million views. Good job, Adrian. Group yoga stream. Yeah, maybe we'll start like getting into a stretch where we do yoga at the beginning of stream. That could be a really fun thing to do. You know, chill us all out for the upcoming stream. I have 2 bachelors in kinesiology, exercise science, as well as allied health professions, and I can confirm that stretching is super important to health. Hell yeah. And I need to do a lot more of it because my entire job is sitting here in front of you guys. Also, folks, thanks for being here. Hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, do all the things. And consider dropping some subs or donos, huh? Especially for a weekend stream. Also, yeah, I mean, stretching also helps you avoid cramps and injuries, for sure. Hawkeye Pierce, I don't know where you... Oh, you posted it in Twitch chat. If you post it in Twitch chat, no one can see it. You have to whisper it to a mod, or you have to come over to riverbed.gg. Links are disabled in Twitch chat because we got too many, like, chuckle fucks posting, like, gore porn and shit.
By men who are eschewing official recommendations by medicine and government. The latest and the most shocking attack on this front occurred a few days ago by NPR, which ran a hit piece on a community of men online who are dedicated to shunning pornography and spreading the concern about its widespread usage of young men.
Oh, he's defending the honor
it relies
of
on the testimony
NoFap.
of so-called sexual experts, as if there is such a thing, and appears to
Take my money,
basically endorse
BWA.
widespread porn use.
Yo, Method Yahoo, thank you very much for the $10 dono, exemplifying that BWA spirit. Thank you so goddamn much. I love this, though. This is so much better than I ever could have imagined. He's literally trying to go to bat for the honor of not masturbating during November. Ah, yes, the honor.
Usage by young men. They write, quote, many researchers and sex therapists worry that online communities that have formed in response to fears often endorse inaccurate medical information, exacerbate mental health problems, and in some cases overlap with extremist and hate groups. Extremists and hate groups? My God. So, by the way, if you're wondering what those ties are, the NPR reporter relies...
Yeah, no, the entire NoFap movement came about from incel forums on 4chan and 8kun. Like, that's the entire premise of it comes from, like, the idea that, like, by masturbating, you're releasing, like, your pent-up sexual energy, and that's bad for you, you know? Also, just you know, just somewhat related, if you're a trans lady, you should masturbate a lot. I'm throwing that out there. Masturbate a lot if you're a trans lady, okay? Because there's a concept with HRT called, like, use it or lose it, and basically, if you don't masturbate a lot, your genitalia will shrink, and that may or may not be good. So, you know, depending on the size you're aiming for, use it or lose it, okay? Anyway, moving on.
On Reddit users making jokes in comments about the Illuminati and global elite, as well as an alleged anti-feminist...
Yeah, especially if you don't have testosterone in your body.
But what actually shocked me about the piece is not that it ran, but what I found out from one of the organizers behind the movement, and how this piece fits into a concerted and multi-billion-dollar effort in recent months by pornography.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of trans women are fine
men
with
who are
it,
trying
but,
their best to stay away from them.
Just throwing out the
institute
tips for
guardrails
newbies.
teenagers. Much of the machinery behind this story appears to have been orchestrated by the so-called Free Speech Coalition in the United States. The so-called sex expert and the urologist who are quoted in the story. Hawkeye
Pierce, it does have an effect on the size of your penis if you're a trans lady. I like that. That's actually a fact. But no, I'm not saying that if you masturbate, your penis is going to get smaller. I'm saying if you don't have enough blood routinely flowing to your penis, and as a result of being on testosterone suppressants as a trans lady, your genitalia will shrink. That's facts. That's science. I'm not saying anything about cis men. This was specifically for trans ladies. I never read that. Well, I've talked with enough doctors, and I know that to be true. So I'm just letting everyone know. But then again, I don't do a lot of masturbation research. It's not masturbation research. It's literally like one of the common things that doctors will bring up to you after you've been on HRT for like 2 years.
Story, both either have ties to the porn industry or have been supporters in the past. In fact, when I spoke to a person involved in the so-called NoFap movement who worked with NPR on the story, they revealed to me that NPR did not reach out to many of the people that they recommended they reach out to who have been positively impacted from abstaining from pornography. They instead decided to highlight a few examples of their
that's
own.
what we like to see.
Only one who spoke positively, and including
also,
two who
tiny
said
girl
that they
dicks
were
are
no
cute,
longer
okay?
followers of the movement. By the way, as evidence for one of their former adherents who is now healthy, they pointed out to an individual who previously had ditched pornography, now consumes pornography regularly, and indulges in a cross-dressing fetish. According to them, that is supposedly healthy and cool, while ditching pornography is bad. Those that I spoke with at NoFap also notified me that NPR was provided with a list of 22 separate urologists that they could interview who would support their health claims. Their NPR instead interviewed their own.
Man, it's so telling that Sagaar and Enjeti is like, this guy who started masturbating again developed a cross-dressing fetish, and that is deeply distressing to me. And it's like, what, bro, just let him live his life. He's not imposing his cross-dressing fetish on you. My God.
As I said, is a verified friend of the pornography industry. None of this is happening in a vacuum. Much of it is tied directly to a recent government action that is attempting to put age limitations on pornography usage. In the last year, 8 states have now enacted legislation requiring porn companies to verify the age of users attempting to access their content. This has caused major showdowns now between Pornhub and its affiliates with these states. In some cases, will result in blocking access in states entirely to enact this legislation. The law is very simple. Any website which has more than 1/3 of its content classified as adult must verify that the users are over the age of 18. Naturally, the porn companies are freaking out about this new legislation because they rely on hooking teenagers as early as possible and keeping them as lifetime customers. Now, you may say that I'm
No, they're upset about it because verifying the age of everyone who uses your website requires like so much extra bureaucratic nonsense and is impossible to verify. Like, again, is Sagaar not familiar with the fact that fake IDs exist? Like, my God. People fake their age all the time. Yeah, this is just morality policing. Who the hell would give their real identity to Pornhub? That's the other aspect. It's like the cyber security aspect, which is like, do you really want to give like your government documents to Pornhub so you can watch porn? No. No one wants to do that. No one wants like a paper trail that leads directly back to them and their porn viewing. I should go to the next one and build this road. Yeah, like people don't want to share confidential information with porn sites for obvious reasons. There's a website that fakes AI, that uses AI to fake IDs. Yeah. I mean, Sagaar is an open fascist. Like, that's why he's in favor of this type of morality policing. And again, keep in mind that the disastrous effect that he's listed so far is really just an anecdote about this one guy who developed a cross-dressing fetish. And it's just like, well, that's no skin off your nose, bud. You don't have to engage with that other guy's, like, cross-dressing fetish. That's his thing. It doesn't have to be yours. The idea of needing an idea to look at something that isn't like a top secret document is incomprehensibly unreasonable. Yeah, exactly. Quiet but louder.
Dumbass.
Like, I don't know. Like, I need less documentation on file to just like get like a thing of whiskey. Yeah, and honestly, the fact that like VPNs exist, the fact that like the dark web exists, it's just gonna make the sites that these people go to for pornography sketchier and sketchier, which is going to lead to the exploitation of more like people in general, but also it's gonna lead to the exploitation of children because those teenagers are not going to stop being horny. They're not going to stop being horny and wanting to look at boobs or dicks or vaginas. They're just going to get more sophisticated in the way that they search them out, and they're gonna go to places that are dangerous for them to be like going around and interacting with people, or like using programs they don't fully understand. So like, I don't know, man. This is only downsides.
Stupid, and that teenagers will seek out porn if there's a law or not. And you are probably right. But does that stop us from having drinking age verification when you order liquor online or when you buy nicotine products? No. We recognize as society.
But here's the thing: the worst case scenario about of like a teenager looking at porn is they get an erection and jack off. What the worst case scenario of a teen buying alcohol is they drink so much they die, or they like drive drunk and kill someone. You know, I think that there's a big difference between like masturbating to pornography and like killing somebody with a car or yourself. I think there's a pretty meaningful difference there. And like, the other aspect of this is if teenagers try to look at pornography and it is criminalized for them to do so without like providing like their IDs, then you're just jailing kids for like looking at titties. That's crazy. Jack, you're forgetting that masturbating to the right is extremely shameful and sinful. You're only supposed to coom for procreation to these freaks. I mean, yeah, but like that's the thing, right? Like, that's a religious argument. That's not a secular argument. That shouldn't be an argument that guides our republic. Hey, Fight Mage Studios.
While some may seek harmful substances, or in this case, content, out of the side of the law, the purpose of the law...
going to juvie for using fur affinity without an ID. Going to jail because your DeviantArt account is looking too much at those sexy Sonic pictures.
Is to try and protect children wherever possible. This is not, and I repeat, not a substitute for parenting. It is an effort by states to protect children from what we used to recognize as something that's harmful. The NPR article purpose is simple. Concerns about pornography are unfounded. If they're unfounded, then age verification laws, which states are rushing to adopt, are bad. You could call me a prude if you wish, but ask yourself, why is it all that controversial when every person who's ever seen a child interact with an iPad can instantly recognize we are in uncharted territory with the nature of addictive nature of today's technology? I write this as secular and non-extremist who has long been concerned about the unchecked power of the
your
porn
argument
industry
is
in the
pretty
United States.
non-secular.
I don't think they should be banned. I believe adults can make choices for themselves. But I do certainly believe that the media should speak up for those who find themselves at the mercy of these forces, working to keep them free rather than as a defender of them. So I'm curious what you think, Crystal, after all of that. I thought the way that it was written was absolutely... I think there's a way that you could have written it where you could have given more of a balanced approach, but the way that it was, you know, the people who they highlighted and all of that, the ties were just so clear to me, especially when I spoke with the guys who were a target of this. They were like, we tried to work with her. She was not giving us a single chance. They didn't reach out to any of the people we spoke to. It was like a completely unidirectional. It's like when you set out to write a story that you know you want the headline to be, and then you just rely on the people for that.
But I find your monologue, I'm just gonna, a little confusing because the overwhelming part of the article had nothing to do with porn. It was about masturbation. It was about these these groups like NoFap, which, you know, you guys probably know what that means, which are all about telling men the solution to their problems is to never masturbate, and backing it up with all these completely bullshit health claims. And so, you know, totally opposite the idea that this is an attack on men who are trying to self-actualize or whatever. I see it more as an attack on these people who are trying to take advantage of men and lie to them and add more stress to their lives. I mean, they interview people who are like, yeah, I thought that, you know, if I did this like 90-day no masturbation cleanse, then like all my problems would be solved. And instead, I just ended up with more problems because I was so constantly stressed down about trying to figure out how not to jerk off, basically. So I just found it kind of like strange that that was your takeaway when porn was very incidental to this very long piece.
The reason why is that the NoFap, first of all, NoFap, whatever. This is hilarious to talk about.
I mean, these are grifters.
Yeah.
These are grifters who are lying to dudes.
But
like, that's a legitimate target.
That is not actually what the organization is based on. The organization is not based on masturbation.
But it's called NoFap.
It's literally based on no.
What it's about.
It traces back to Your Brain on Porn, which is the original website, and the movement overall, which is dynamically is targeted to keeping people away from pornography. There are many schools of the whole like.
Your Brain on Porn is explicitly in a religious organization, right? It was founded by Gary Wilson, an anatomy, physiology, and pathology teacher, which I'm interested to know why they're using that language instead of like professor or like some other kind of expertise. I want to know about the funding of the website. Medical disclaimer? The medical disclaimer. This statement is the medical disclaimer for yourbrainonporn.com. This website contains general information about medical conditions and treatments. The information is not advice and should not be treated as such. Cool. Disregard it then. Gotcha. I'm just curious about where they get their funding. Found a different like a religious diocese. Man, so much of this, like if you just Google Your Brain on Porn, you get the site that he's talking about, but you also get literally every other result, which is like Christian counseling or like porn addiction. Yeah, no, Gary Wilson isn't like a scientist. He's not a researcher. I guess he's just a guy who wrote a book. Yeah, literally, like all of these results are from religious news agencies talking about Gary. So I'm wondering where the funding comes from. Not telling me. Put this in quotes. I want to know the funding. Yeah, none of this. This is all very sussy. I'm not gonna lie.
No masturbation, semen retention, all this other nonsense, which
But that's what the article is focused on. That's what it's focused. It's not focused on
the entire point. The entire point of the website is not to masturbate. Like that's the entire premise of the movement, Sagaar. Like it's literally called NoFap. Fap is just Fap means masturbation. It's internet lingo for masturbation. Internet lingo again that originated on like 4chan and 8kun in incel forums.
porn part of it, it's focused on these communities of dudes who have convinced themselves that like the secret to their problems is not masturbating, which is stupid and wrong and just going to stress you more out.
The article for me was trying to undermine the overall movement, which is not focused nearly as much on the whatever, all this nonsense about testosterone increasing or, you know, whatever. It was much more an attempt, at least this is the way I read it, to try and undermine the overall, you know, the overall movement, which is almost entirely, if you were to engage and to go on the space, is centered around pornography. It has nothing to do with any of these claims about masturbation or
Again,
about semen or whatever, testosterone, etc.
It's called NoFap.com. I mean, there's clearly an element of that. I think you're reading a lot into it that isn't there. I read the whole piece. It's lengthy. It's all about this, like, you know, pseudoscience about how, you know, your testosterone will increase and girls will love you and you'll feel better and you'll be like a real man if you don't jerk off anymore, which is like predatory. That's like predatory to men. So I just viewed it through the total opposite lens of, it didn't really take a position on pro-pornography or anti-pornography. That was like incidental to the whole thing.
Crystal's doing really well.
If you look at the quote-unquote survivors and the people who are no longer adherents, all of them talk about consumption of pornography. Because again, pornography is the one that is upstream of this entire discussion.
Well, what they say
it has nothing to do with many of the look, like I said, NoFap.com and all of that. The vast majority of the content is not focused about what we're talking about here. It is all about pornography. Now, the people I spoke to have been under attack now for years by the porn industry, largely because they understand that any abstention from masturbation or sexual behavior or whatever is itself obviously an attack on
Crystal's
the porn
been doing
industry.
a lot better
and
lately.
I don't think it's an accident that it happens whenever the North Carolina law, Virginia.
What does he
where we
think
both
pornography
live,
is
both
for?
considering,
Clearly
legislation on this. There are actually 14 now states that are thinking about
destroying
adopting
men.
this. All happened in the last several months. For me, though, again, the way I read it, and I thought it was telling that they focus on pornography amongst the quote-unquote survivors of the survivors or whatever of this thing, is that they're trying to make a straw man of a claim and of a movement, which is not the vast.
I'm sorry, survivors of fapping. So the survivors of masturbation. I've survived a time or two. I fapped once. I fapped too close to the sun. Ever since, been too afraid. I mean, like, yeah, it's easier to masturbate with porn, guys. Newsflash.
Majority of people who are engaging with this type of content.
But here's the thing. I mean, again, when I read it, the parts where they talk about pornography, I think it also makes a lot of sense of basically like, you know, these people had been convinced that like all pornography, you have to completely abstain and you have an addiction if you're watching porn like once a week or once a month or whatever. And that was adding a lot of shame and pressure to their lives that didn't belong. So I don't see anything nefarious in that.
Well, I mean, look, it depends. More what I would say is like,
it depends on what.
Again, I'm a secular person. I got no Christian undertones to all of us, but I think
you're a fascist,
at least
though.
when we use our phone, at least when we use any sort of technology that we can understand as addictive, alcohol, anything, we can see at the beginning from the outset, we're like, this is a trade-off. I don't think that is baked into teenagers and others, especially men who are well into their 30s, 40s now, who have grown up on the internet. The norms and all of the other things that people have internalized around things that are harmful, that does not exist with pornography. And I think that's what most of the NoFap, quote unquote, movement, people online, people on Instagram and others who talk about this are trying to get into people's heads.
What
So
I
for me,
see-
like, this is way less, whatever this is,
Yeah.
I think is a very, very small part of the abstention from pornography movement, which is widespread, increasingly taking off, and I hope it continues to do so for people who are young, and is a straw man to try and target them to seem as freaks and weirdos. In my opinion, it is much more freakish and weird to celebrate like widespread pornography usage, and again, to come after and to advocate for legislation, which is what the people who are quoted in this article believe in, is you shouldn't have age verification.
But
If you do
again,
outside
that's
research,
not even a part of the article.
No,
The
you're
age
right.
verification thing isn't even in there. I mean, that's not even an argument that's being made here. But I think it is entirely appropriate to expose basically predator grifters who are lying to dudes about, you know, some solution that is just going to create more stress. Some quote-unquote solution is only going to create more stress and anxiety in their lives. I think that's an entirely appropriate, like, lane to investigate. And you may not 100% love, you know, the piece that they wrote or the people they talked to or whatever. But to say it's illegitimate to even talk about that and say, hey, this isn't a solution and you're getting lied to, I actually think that's a disservice to men.
I don't think it's illegitimate. I think that it was biased. I think that the person behind it was clearly used. I don't think she understood the Free Speech Coalition and much of the ties to these doctors and advocates who have been largely appearing at pornography events, which I have evidence if people want to go and look at it, and are openly talking and using their power, articles like this, to advocate specifically against age verification laws, which I'm talking about. I was trying to bring it. No, I know, but they use, this is what they use. They're like, hey,
such
look,
a
these people are all
freak,
grifters.
dude.
The people behind this, you want to be aligned with the freaks? Like, that's why you can't support something.
I just have to say, like, Shark300 said this a while back on Twitter, and I think it's really true. We just need to start pointing at conservatives and being like, you're a fucking weirdo. You're being weird as hell. You're being a freak right now. Like, your behavior is freakish, and that's what he's doing. Like, he's being incredibly weird about this.
Republicans will die on the hill of semen retention and genital inspections and question why they keep losing elections. Please vote BWA.
Gamer G, thank you for the $5 dono, and I couldn't agree more. This reeks of him clicking on a pornado in his email and traumatized him. Yeah. No. Shai Halud, it's more basic than that. He was on Pornhub, and he clicked on a video with a hot lady and a dude in it. And that hot lady turned out to be a trans woman. And by the time he realized, it was too late. He was already going like crazy. He was going to town. Clown town. And now he's really mad about it. Like, legitimately, there's like a 25% chance that is actually what happened. And he's just upset about it, and he's venting his frustration here. You know, getting his frustrated rocks off.
Something like this. Like, for me, it's a part of a tool. It's the same way as if you look at the past. Like, the fitness is a fascist article that we infamously remember from MSNBC. That whole article was about how some Nazis or whatever like fitness. I mean, sure, is that a legitimate point? Yeah. But what's the subtext? Like, what are they trying to say? Is that gym obsession and all of this is hyper-masculine, can have ties, quote-unquote, to right-wing movements, and is coded as bad? I'm reading this in the same, like, social commentary. That's not what the article said.
I think you're reading too much into it.
Maybe I'm crazy.
I mean, this reporter's not responsible for that piece, right? This person is writing their own thing about something they seen, is provably harmful to men. Like I said, I think that is a service to men to say, hey, this is a pack of lies, and ending your days of jerking off is, first of all, you're not going to be able to accomplish it, and second of all, it's only going to create more stress in your life and is not any sort of a solution for whatever problems you might actually be facing.
I think you're being charitable, and maybe that's good. Maybe I'm too much of a conspiracy theorist here. For me, it's a matter of emphasis. It's a matter of where the quote-unquote medical establishment falls down on what's good and what's not, and then in general, it's like we're really going to be policing the thought of a small segment of overall hundreds of thousands of people who are online, who, again, we're talking about policing Reddit comments inside of threads, as opposed to the overwhelming thing is just, hey, stay away from
This is a
porn.
whole
It's bad for you.
organization that's
Right.
set up, dedicated to like go on this 90-day no masturbation like cleanse. I don't know.
Is about being away from pornography, and it's specifically about resetting the relationship to
That maybe
knowledge.
that's not what this article is really. Pornography is so incidental to this, and the age verification thing isn't here whatsoever. So I just think you've concocted like an elaborate conspiracy that isn't there in terms of what's actually in the article.
We'll see, Crystal. We'll see when they use one of these articles in the state legislature to argue against the laws. I think I'll be.
Well, and I also have issues with the idea of everybody having to upload their driver's license before they jerk off.
It's not a.
Let me
not
put that on the record as well.
Okay. Well, we can talk about that another day. All right, guys. As you can see, we enjoy having our fun debate. There have come quite a few, right? Last couple of days.
Been spirited lately.
Good for Breaking Points, I think. You guys can support us at breakingpoints.com. We've got the RFK Junior Focus Group, which is coming up, which will again be exclusively available. Other than that, we will see you all.
Hey guys, if you enjoy seeing us react to each other's monologues, subscribe so that you can see our reactions to every single episode.
That's right. Go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber.
All right. Scary out here. So FAP is for men only? I guess so. Yeah. Oh God. 538. Nate Silver is going to be insufferable this roll around the election cycle.